Career Fair in Phoenix on September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. This free job fair will be held at the Phoenix Airport Marriott Hotel, located at 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. This is your chance to meet some of the top employers in the Phoenix area face-to-face. Get ready to jumpstart your new career at the National Career Fair in Phoenix, September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. at the Phoenix Marriott Hotel, 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. For more information, visit ncfairs.com/Phoenix. Again, that's ncfairs.com/Phoenix.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're on The Arms Room with Glenn.
And John.
And I have an entire mouthful of Skittles right now because I tried to eat some Skittles and I accidentally poured like half the bag in my mouth, and now I can't get rid of them.
Hi, my name's Glenn. I like Skittles.
These are delicious Skittles, though. They are the new desserts Skittles, and they are delicious.
Whatever happened to candy bars, man? Like when I was a kid, when we were kids, there were like 5 candy bars.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? What's wrong with the classics?
It's like picking gum now. You ever go to the store and try to buy gum? Holy crap. Dude, I just want a gum.
Yeah.
But there's like 18 different brands, and each brand has 12 different flavors. How about just some mint gum so my breath doesn't smell like a dog's ass? That's what I'm looking for. Adam, has your house flooded yet?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, a little bit. Oh, wow, almost. Backyard is... My pool's full again.
Well, that's good. That'll save you a couple of bucks.
Yeah. I was like, cool. I was getting ready to, maybe throw a prayer up there and say, hey, Noah, you're on deck,
You going to rent a kayak on the way home?
I thought about it.
Kayak around?
I think what we're going to do is, because we live out by PIR and the racetrack, and there's the Salt River runs out there and stuff like that. I thought maybe we'd grab the inner tubes and do a little tubing.
I'm sure it'd be roaring down there now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Driving up here, we passed several washes, and usually those washes have, big trees and bushes. Didn't see a single one today.
Cleaned out?
Yeah, it was all water.
This is totally mind-blowing weather for Arizona natives for the most part.
It's nuts how much rain we've had lately.
They claim that it's today last night and today was the third most rainfall in the history in one day.
Is this because of global warming, Adam?
You know what? I didn't want to bring it up, but since you said something, I thought maybe this had something to do with Obama, President Obama. I don't know.
I think it has to do with goat farts.
Well, that very well could be too.
We have too many animals, and they're heating up the atmosphere.
Yep. Or it could be butterfly farts, the whole chaos theory thing.
Every time a butterfly farts in China, it rains in Chicago.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
I think
I didn't
so.
totally pay attention
Something
in high
like that,
school,
yeah,
so I don't actually remember what
It's actually the flap of a butterfly's wings.
I know,
South
but it's a
America.
joke about butterfly farts. I was trying to help you out, and then you ruined it.
How are you this morning, Mr. Stilson?
Pretty good. Matt, one of our instructors and frequent host on the show, texted me about Mesa right now, and he's literally a car, he said, floats down the I-10 freeway, and he's ankle deep to knee deep in water. Everything's been canceled. So
yeah, heading
crazy.
I-10 heading eastbound near 43rd Avenue is a car graveyard right now. Water is some of these cars. The water's up to the windshield.
Whoa, where are you looking?
That's no bueno, man.
I got to see this real quick.
All right. Well, you look that up real quick.
It's pretty nuts. And then they closed some of the on-ramps out west, so I had to take the alternate route. And, of course, taking alternate routes, all the roads are flooded. And then everybody's there. I sat in traffic. I went 4 miles in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Massive Valley flooding strands motorists closes schools. I want to see this picture.
Yeah, I got a call from the school, or my mom called me of all things. And she was in Tucson. She's like, "How come the school's calling me?" And I was like, "I don't know, whatever."
Holy crap, dude!
Yeah,
literally on the I-10 there is a lake, people. I mean, you're not kidding. They're really up, all the way up to the windshield. That's nuts. If anyone wants to see what I'm talking about, I just went to Google and Googled AZ flood, and everything popped up. So crazy. That's nuts. Crazy water.
Yeah.
It's another great example of, we talk about emergency preparedness all the time on the show and in our training.
Mhm.
This is just a perfect example of why it's so crucial to be prepared. You just don't know.
So what you're
just
saying
don't know.
is make sure, even though we live in the desert,
Mhm.
have a life vest and maybe a raft.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I would.
maybe
Hey,
the life
You
jacket.
don't know. You don't know. You're traveling.
Yeah.
And you come across
Traveling.
the wash, right?
Man,
And
I
all of a
wish, I
sudden-
wish you guys could see Adam's
the-
hand movements
then
right now.
then all of the
traveling.
you're traveling, right?
Traveling.
And then all of a sudden you're cruising. You're listening to the music. You're minding your own damn business.
Mhm.
All of a sudden you hear a little rinky-dink-dink underneath the hood,
Mhm.
and the car stops in the middle of a wash, right?
Yeah.
And it's dry. You're
What do you-
thinking, not a cloud in the sky. I'm okay.
What are you going to do next?
I don't know. So then you're thinking, you get out, right? And all of a sudden you hear this roaring, thunderous sound, and you look up, and a wall of water is about to come crashing down on you.
In 3D.
What do?
Run out of
You
the
grab
wash.
that freaking
Life raft, dude.
life raft.
I agree.
You pump that thing. You pull.
No,
it,
you don't pump.
boom, you pull the string.
pull the
to it,
string.
Yeah, you pull the string.
Hey, Adam, you
And-
got to get out of the car first.
And you sit. You
don't
sit
don't
there.
inflate that thing in the car.
No, you don't want to do that. It's like opening an umbrella inside.
Can't do that.
No, you can't. But you pull the string. You sit down and you hold on. You're about to
ride.
go for a ride.
You ride.
Dude, I just totally had a flashback to Billy Madison. You get your ass out there and you find that freaking dog. Sorry.
Good
Total-
news. Good job,
Woo.
Adam.
But no,
Fantastic.
I mean, it's,
You're absolutely right. I'm gonna go buy an inflatable.
I need a life raft.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna buy one today.
All right.
a little canoe.
You should start a life raft business in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's what you're lacking.
You know what? That might just be the next big business opportunity for us. I don't know. Maybe.
So short of a life raft,
Right.
if you were going to be prepared for such an emergency,
Maybe
might-
maybe a raincoat.
We're a seasonal kind of business.
yeah.
We're not year round. We're seasonal. One day here, 2 days there. If you're lucky, maybe 3.
Every 3 years. But yeah, like I was looking at this picture of a guy getting out of his vehicle.
Was he
in the
wearing
flood.
flip flops?
I couldn't tell because it was up to his waist.
Oh, okay.
But he was carrying his little backpack, and I thought to myself, now see, there's a guy who hopefully has something useful in that backpack. Because that
Probably his
car,
laptop.
that car's going nowhere.
Where's that car going?
What he's hoping to
Nowhere.
Damn it. Liability's not going to cover
Yeah.
this.
Full coverage, my friends. Full coverage.
Who the hell
Importante.
gets flood insurance in Arizona? I mean, seriously.
Especially for the car.
Damn it.
So Tim, our loyal listener and good friend, says, step 1 of emergency preparedness, don't drive your front-wheel drive car through a flooded road.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good advice.
Pretty much if you see other cars stuck in the road, I'm just going to put this out there. If you see other cars stranded all the way up to the windshield, there's a good chance your Corolla's not going to make it either. No matter how fast you hit that
I want to
puddle.
see how many lowriders are out there today.
Probably not too many. Well, they just hydro
Yeah.
they hydro that stuff up, and then they drive across.
We're 3-wheeling this bitch.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Wow, that got out of hand quickly.
Not really.
Oh.
It's good flood advice.
Yeah.
People need to come to us when they're looking for
Advice.
Have a lifted truck or hydraulics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
one time where my infamous term of asshole trucks could actually come in handy.
Or a
out
life raft.
there. Or a life raft. Or a lifted truck.
You can
with
have a
life
Corolla
Hey,
with
raft.
a
listen,
life raft.
a canoe, a life raft, whatever.
Whatever you need.
Grab the inner tube, head on down and go.
There you
for
go.
a
That's a
ride.
cheap way to
Take
do
the
it.
day off.
They take a day off.
Screw
and
the Salt River. Go up
tube
to
down
whatever
the I-10.
wash is right
Tube
there,
down the I-10.
and you're just
Good stuff.
see you at the office.
Fantastic.
Get your briefcase on. your
Yeah,
lap,
put your
pedal.
briefcase on your lap and just paddle in. Your
That's
butt. You're
commitment.
going to come into the office.
Listen,
Your butt's going to be a little
I'd
wet.
give that guy a raise. I'd pay him time and a half if he showed up for work in something
From an
like
inner
that.
tube?
Absolutely.
Boss, I'm
That's-
here.
That is commitment. Right
I'm
there.
That'd be
here.
a promotion.
That's commitment.
I inner tubed my way here.
Nobody else got here. You inner tube it. That shows
I
me
paddled with my laptop,
you're
my
somebody.
iPad,
Boom.
waterproof case. Paddled it.
I'd give him time and a half and give him the day off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That guy's a nice boss.
Because nobody actually works for Adam. That's why he can be so nice to his imaginary employees.
That's right.
That's a good point. That's a good
Hold on a
point.
second. Get back to work. What was that? Sorry.
Always easy to be nice to your imaginary employees. But Adam, you'd make a great boss.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've like to think I
Yeah.
would.
I'm glad you would like to think
Sure.
that.
You know.
Yeah, everybody would.
I mean, I've been told I was a nice boss once or twice before.
Do you have where's your world's best boss mug?
It's actually at the house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't carry the mugs here too much.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it's sitting next to the world greatest dad mug.
Mm.
Actually, you would be correct.
World's greatest truck driver mug.
Could be.
No, don't have one of those.
Well,
No,
Let me down, dude.
sorry.
Let me down. All right.
so what's our show about today?
We're going to talk about testing equipment.
Let's get on to this.
I'm just curious.
We got off track there a little bit with all the flooding. It's nuts down here, though.
It
And it's
is.
been
But I mean, Arizona. I mean, where the water's gonna go? You know.
it's
All
been-
those empty washes?
yeah.
And it's
all our lakes that
and
are
it's- and it's-
15 feet low. How about that?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I could not get over it. It amazes me because for months and months, you see these washes that are completely dry,
Mhm.
and then you have 6 hours worth of rain,
Yeah.
and you have, class 5 rapids in the middle of town. You know.
Well, that's the crazy part is even right out here, just outside the studio doors, there's, a normally little dry area.
Yeah.
It's a lake, man.
Yeah.
Go swimming after.
I went out there
after
to
Easily
see.
swim.
I went out there to see if there was any koi out there this morning. I was like, oh, this has got a nice little pond now. You
Koi
know?
pond.
Yeah.
No koi?
Not yet. No.
There's some dead roaches floating around there, though.
Yeah,
Maybe a couple of dead rats.
didn't see any of those.
Roaches.
No, this is North Scottsdale. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, no
never
rats.
mind. No rats.
Rats up here.
No rats. In
We do have
North
some roaches,
Scottsdale.
though.
Yeah.
They're up. I mean, they're high scale, up and upper
Yeah.
class roaches, but
I mean,
they're
they get suits on and stuff.
but they're still roaches.
Joe's apartment.
So let's talk about our show today
Let's.
because we got really off topic there about all the flooding because it is crazy. We're going to talk about testing equipment.
That's crazy talk.
I know, mostly firearms and ammunition, but kind of just equipment in general, really defensive stuff. And so the topic of the show today is basically testing your equipment before you actually need it in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this is so crucial is because I don't care what you buy straight out of the box, right off the shelf of the gun store, your gun needs to have a good break-in period, and it needs to be run pretty effectively. I'll give you kind of my criteria of a firearm, whether it's a rifle, shotgun, handgun, whatever. I would never trust my firearm to defend like my life or the life of someone that I love if I had fired less than like 300 or 400 rounds through it. At a minimum. I mean, I like to see about 500 rounds through most carbines, handguns, stuff like that before I really trust the gun. Because you get lemon guns.
Yeah,
It
that's
happens.
true.
You know, how many students do we have? We had that guy show up to a carbine class not too long ago. It's a Smith & Wesson MP15, AR-15 straight out of the box. And regardless of what you think about the gun, they're decent enough for the average person. And straight out of the box, just brought it to class. Fires like 5 rounds, has a malfunction, a weird malfunction, where the bolt is stripping the round out of the magazine, but it's not actually catching the rim of the cartridge onto the extractor and the bolts. Like the bolt is literally pushing the round up instead of locking it in. And so, obviously that's not going to fire because it won't lock up right.
Mm-hmm.
And so about every 5th or 6th round, regardless of how slow or how fast he fired, it would happen. So it was an out-of-spec bolt is what we eventually figured out. I pulled some stuff apart, replaced some parts, figured out that it was a bolt that was just completely out of spec. We replaced the bolt with a brand new bolt and no problems. But how crazy is that? Straight out of the box.
I'd be sad.
We've seen Glocks fail. For all you Glock homos out there, we've seen Glocks fail. We've seen. Do we just lose like 1,000 listeners?
Probably.
So that's okay. I don't like Glock listeners anyway. I'm just totally kidding. Totally
About to
kidding.
lose the producer too.
Tim, oh my gosh.
And a co-host.
What do you got against Glocks?
I don't have anything against Glocks.
As there's a shit-eating grin on your face, and everybody can see it.
Well, it's
It's like I'm waiting for it. Like
it's
wait
all about
for
the
it, wait
Kool-Aid,
for it.
man. It's all about the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Because most people that carry Glocks are all about the Glock Kool-Aid.
Here's the thing. I love Glock. It's a great piece of equipment.
Mhm.
It runs like a champ. Can't beat them. They're simple, which is great. No safeties, none of that kind of silliness. They run great. You can easy to customize them, accessorize them, and all that kind of stuff because they're so popular. They're a bomb-proof gun, literally. I mean, literally. You've seen people detonate them and
Yeah.
stuff, and they still work. They're absolutely great guns. The reason I kind of poke fun at Glocks is the same reason I'm going to poke fun at a 1911 or something like that, because there's a certain mentality that goes along with them, like, I carry a Glock because a Glock doesn't fail. Want to bet?
Right.
I've seen them fail a lot. Not more than any other gun, certainly much less than other guns. I will readily admit that. But they do fail. I've seen them come apart, and literally come apart in class. Relatively new guns that weren't heavily abused. Just stuff breaks sometimes.
Right.
Glock's the only handgun I've ever seen where a dude stripped his front sight post off.
Yeah. Yeah, those stupid plastic front sights that they include on stock Glocks. We've seen those come off in class frequently. We've seen that class you weren't at when you were deployed, where that guy went to go charge his Glock, goes to rack the slide, and the takedown lever had broken.
Oh
And
yeah.
the spring
yeah,
had fallen out during the course of fire, and so the takedown lever's like not holding the slide anymore. So we're doing this exercise, and he goes to charge his Glock, and the slide literally just flies off the front of the gun. What was cool, though, is that he then tomahawked the frame through the target and got a good solid high chest hit with it. So I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, I mean, it's every gun's going to fail.
Yep.
Every manufacturer. You name a manufacturer, ARs, handguns, whatever, you name a manufacturer, I have seen a problem with that gun. We have seen so many guns come through our classes that we see the ones that fail. Ammunition, same thing. We've seen ammo fail. We've seen guns fail. So it's critical that you understand a couple of things. One, your stuff might fail, so it's really important to learn how to, A, fix problems in the field quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and B, understand other techniques that you may have to use if your gun does fail. If you do pull your magical, body slaying death machine out of the holster to go shoot some bad guy, and all of a sudden it doesn't work the way that you thought it was going to, it's important that you have a backup plan. Whatever that backup plan may be. Run, fight, New
York Reload,
knife, whatever your backup plan is going to be. It's important that you have that backup plan, that it actually functions. So it's really crucial that you test your stuff. Regardless of the brand on it, you have to test it. And then there's firearms that actually require break-in periods before even the manufacturer will consider them reliable, like Kahr firearms, K-A-H-R. From Kahr Firearms, they actually recommend almost every firearm I've ever owned from them that it's between 250 and 500 rounds, depending on the gun, before they would consider. I mean, they literally say in the manual, before you consider this firearm reliable, you must fire 250 to 500 rounds to break it in. And people think that sounds insane. Oh, a gun should be broken in from the factory. Dude, no way. They shoot a magazine, if that, through the gun at the factory, and then they package it up. So there's all kinds of weird things you can have. A burrs from manufacturing, some point on some part that's not functioning right, needs to be kind of shaved down with use. Kimber's the same way. Kimber recommends a minimum of 500 rounds before you consider their gun
we're
reliable.
gonna lose more users, right? We're gonna lose more listeners right here. Don't buy a brand new Kimber ever.
Don't buy a brand new Kimber.
Buy a used
You
one.
want to buy a Kimber, buy a used Kimber, literally, and buy a Kimber from someone who shot it a lot, like 500 to 1,000 rounds, because you just saved yourself 500 to 1,000 rounds of break-in ammo.
And probably a few $100.
So yeah, and probably a few $100. So it's why when a lot of times I look at buying like used firearms, depending on the firearm and what it was used for, if it's just someone's gun that sat in the safe and they put 400 or 500 rounds through it, I'd prefer that over a new gun. I'd prefer that because now I want to have the capability of buying a gun that's kind of already broken in, and I don't have to go out and worry about shooting all these rounds of a break-in ammo through it. Now that being said, I would still test it a lot before I went to use it. Let me see if we have a. Oh no, all right. We had a comment, but it wasn't on our Armstrong thing. So it's important that you test your gear. Really, really important. We're going to, when we come back from the break here in a few minutes, we're going to talk about how to go through this testing process. Like, what do you do? What are the kind of things that you're looking for? And I think probably one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about testing their equipment is that they see like a Glock torture test, right? And they're like, oh, I have to take my gun out, I have to bury it in the mud, and I have to throw it out of an airplane, and I have to drive over it with a truck, and I have to do all this crazy stuff in order to make sure my firearm is going to work. And while none of those things are necessarily a bad thing to know, it's important to know if your gun's gonna work or whatever. You don't have to go crazy with some torture test to make sure that your equipment's going to function properly.
No.
Right? If you have a comment on this, by the way, you can call us at 602-399-7787. You can always post on our Facebook page as well. But it's really important people understand that you've got to be realistic about your testing methods. Just like you would be realistic with your training methods, you have to be realistic with your testing methods. One of the things that I always kind of like to focus on is how is this particular firearm going to be used? Is it going to be used a lot in the heat? Is it going to be used in the cold? One thing we were talking about before the show was I was telling you about fluted bolts.
Oh yeah.
And how a lot of guys will see a fluted bolt on a rifle and think it's just like a cool thing, maybe for weight reduction or something like that. What that's for is so the bolt doesn't freeze in freezing conditions. And so that's important. As condensation or moisture may build up on the bolt, your rifle in Arizona may be good to go throughout the whole year because maybe you don't, go elk hunting or deer hunting really when it's out that cold outside, or you have a big buildup of condensation or moisture. But now you're going to go hunt in northern Canada, or you're going to go hunt in Alaska during wintertime or something like that. You're going to go, be operational, military or law enforcement wise in an area where it might rain on you and then freeze, and now you got to make that shot. Maybe cycle the bolt and make another shot. Your bolt freezes shut. You're done. Game over. Yep. And so there's a lot of things like that you have to consider too. Is when I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to test, what exactly am I testing my gun for? For the average person who's going to keep a Glock at their house for home defense, do they need to go out and bury their gun in the mud?
No.
And then pull it out of the mud? Oh yeah, it shoots while it's in the mud. Well, that's good. It's cool to know. But is that actually going to apply to you? How about instead you go, test and see how your gun works when your hands are really sweaty? You know what I mean? Because that's going to be happening under stress, or maybe you're just hot and sweaty, right? And you need to use the gun.
It's not hot here though.
Yeah, it's never hot here. Why don't you see how the control of the gun actually works? Can you hold on to it? Maybe you need to add more aggressive texturing on the grip with stippling or something like that, so that you can actually hold on to it when it's sweaty or you're wet or you get covered in blood or whatever. You know what I mean? Something happens, someone jumps you in and stabs you, and there's blood coming out. You grab the wound and pull your hand away. It's covered in blood. You draw your handgun. You go to shoot it. Now you can't hold on to it because it's slick. Those are the kind of things you need to be more realistic about testing, as opposed to, can I cover this thing in mud? Unless your operational environment is potentially going to be mud. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to test firearms and equipment in general, because this is a big thing with Redwire Gear. We're going to mention that whole thing with John and his whole how I know. We're going to tell you guys. We're going to tell you a little bit more of the history behind those pictures and why it's so important to test your equipment. You're listening to the Arms Room.
Are you or someone you know looking for a new job or career? The Vets on Media family would like to invite you to the National Career Fair in Phoenix on September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. This free job fair will be held at the Phoenix Airport Marriott Hotel, located at 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. This is your chance to meet some of the top employers in the Phoenix area face-to-face. Get ready to jumpstart your new career at the National Career Fair in Phoenix, September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. at the Phoenix Marriott Hotel, 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. For more information, visit ncfairs.com/Phoenix. Again, that's ncfairs.com/Phoenix.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word military enrollment advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you. Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strongly about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker, 1-9. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, we're back on the Arms Room. We're going to be talking about testing gear.
And how to do it appropriately.
How to do it appropriately. So we started the show by talking about giant flooding in Arizona, and that got distracted us for a little while.
Just a minute.
Then we kind of talked about the realistic type of testing that you need to be doing and to actually test your guns for what you anticipate being involved in. So now let's talk about actually testing equipment and why it's so important. So many moons ago, when John had first kind of started training with me over Independence Training, we used to play a game. We play a lot of interesting
This is
games.
getting awkward. This is starting to sound really awkward. So this game that Mr. Stilson is speaking of, and I call him Mr. Stilson to get under his skin mostly.
It's true.
It's called You Know How I Know You Don't Use Your Stuff.
You can say shit on the show, John.
Shit. You know how I know you don't use your shit.
And so we would mostly look at pictures.
Yeah, mostly pictures on gear forums or forums in general because everybody likes to show off pictures of their sweet new gear.
Yeah.
And we would just send these pictures back and forth to each other of the craziest stuff we could find. Still to this day, my all-time favorite was the really sweet-looking rig with the plastic still on the
Camelback
Yeah.
bite valve.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
So for years, John and I sent photos, email back and forth of like, hey, I found this picture, and we wouldn't say anything about it. It was like, hey, here's another picture. You know how I know this guy doesn't use shit.
Check this out, buddy.
And then there would be this picture of, whatever, and you'd have to look at it and be like, oh, I see what the problem is. The optics mounted backwards. Or, oh, I see what the problem is. The guy's
There's no front sight on that
There's
rifle.
no front sight on that rifle. Or, oh, yeah, that guy's got a huge admin pouch on his plate carrier, and there's no way he's going to get his freaking magazines out. So we joke about stuff like that, And so when John started Redwire Gear.
Yeah, when I started my company and my company's Facebook page, I decided to keep the tradition alive and do the motivational posters, or in this case, they're quite demotivational most of the time. And it's still the same stuff. I find it all the time. The newest one I just put up, I believe it went up yesterday afternoon, is a guy with a split front rig, and he's got his pistol mounted in his armpit for a cross draw. It's a cross draw armpit mount. So when you're looking at setting up your gear, whether it's your everyday carry stuff or your go out to the range, cool guy stuff, take a serious look at how it's going to function, and actually take it out and test it. That's like key number one, because I had a really nice rig for a while when I first started working with Mr. Stilson. Then we went out and did some running and gunning training, and I was like, this is a fail because I can't get my pistol out because it's under my vest. So I had to sit down and reevaluate all of my crap.
So now I'm looking at this picture and I'm enjoying myself. So
It's a good
he's
one,
got a
right?
shot shell holder with no friggin' shot shells in it.
Yep.
He's got a dump pouch on the front, which always drives me up the wall
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's no way in hell you're going to use a dump pouch up front. I mean, for most people, I should say. And then he's got this handgun mounted completely in his armpit. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one.
So there you go. So that that's kind of you guys a history. If you ever go to the Red Wire Gear page on Facebook, that's where those pictures come from.
Check us out and follow us, by the way.
There you go. So the big problem that we see with guns, ammo, gear, everything is that nobody. No, let me scratch that. Most people don't get out and train with their stuff. You know, sometimes we'll teach classes where guys will come out and they're like, whatever. He's a retail guy, works at Best Buy or something, and he shows up with a plate carrier, and everyone's like, the first thing we hear from all the vets or the Leo guys or whatever is like, what the hell does that guy need to train his plate carrier for? He's just some stupid retail guy or whatever. And it's like, look, dude, if that guy's going to own the stuff, I'd happily have him out on a training range learning how to use it, because most of the time what happens is within the first hour or two of class, those 12 magazines they thought they needed are getting reduced down to like a more realistic 3 or 4.
Yep.
You know, that all those extra pouches and this giant med kit and all this other crap he thinks he needs, all of a sudden that stuff's really getting reduced down. Stuff's coming off. It's being moved. A lot of people show up to training classes. They got an AR with a bipod and a PEC-2 and an aim point magnifier and a ready mag with a magazine in plus a normal magazine in there, and then they got the stock and they have a huge old sling, and they have like, they don't just have one light because they're Costa Ludites. They have 2 lights because 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and they have all this crap on their rifle, and they're like, I'm ready to slay bodies. Cool.
But they can't pick the thing up
But they
to
can't
hold it
pick
up
it up.
long enough to shoot it.
So it's like, after an hour or two of training, they're like, this sucks, and the bipod's coming off, and one light's coming off, and the red dot magnifier's coming off, and all this kind of stuff is starting to become a little bit more realistic for them. So that's why it's so important to train with your gear. And so how do we realistically, test our stuff? That's kind of what we talked about. First thing I think that's the most important, absolutely most important thing that you have to do when you're going to train with your gear, or test your gear, is to go out under perfect conditions first.
Yes.
Go out under perfect conditions. Go out to the indoor range. Go to the outdoor range. Go to a place where it's a nice controlled environment so that you don't have too many factors affecting the gun.
Yep.
Because now if you have like all these factors affecting the gun, well, then it's hard for you to pinpoint if there is a problem, just what the problem is related to. So go out under good conditions and, fire your first, couple hundred rounds through the gun and see if you have any problems with it. And try different types of ammunition. You should know whether or not your gun's going to shoot factory ammunition, factory steel ammunition, factory foreign ammunition like Wolf or Silver Bear. You need to put some of that through your gun. You need to know if it's gonna work. In case that's maybe one day the only ammunition you can get your hands on, you need to know whether or not that's going to be an option for your particular piece of equipment. So break in your gun with the first couple hundred rounds of good factory brass ammunition. Don't reload your first couple hundred rounds. Get good factory brass so that again we're eliminating any potential failure point. Make sure the gun and the ammo work well together. And now you're going to start bringing in some steel cased ammo. And you're going to bring in some foreign ammo. See if it works, Go buy the cheapest, get some Tula ammo. We found out with a couple of mine and John's rifles that Tula ammo basically turns, because of the way that our gas systems work on our guns, Tula basically turns our guns into freaking bolt-action rifles.
That was a fun day.
It's just too underpowered. It doesn't cycle our guns.
Yep.
And that's important for us to know. It works in some people's guns. In a couple of our rifles, it didn't work very well. It works great in one of my ARs, not so good in another one, just because of the different gas systems in there. So it's important to know that kind of stuff. And now once I figure out the different types of ammunition that are and aren't going to work, now I want to start including my self-defense ammo.
Oh, yeah.
Now I want to check a couple of things with self-defense ammo, whether it's going to be buckshot, rifle rounds, handgun rounds, whatever. I want to check and see, A, is it going to function properly through my gun? Now, most modern handguns, you're not going to have a problem with the ammunition, but here's where you're going to start to find an issue. You start to get into compacts or subcompacts or 1911 style firearms or anything like that, where you have a really steep feed ramp. In fact, at 45 ACPs in general usually have a really steep feed ramp. And so now if I'm going to shoot a particular type of hollow point ammunition where the hollow point's cut too deep, I can start to actually have, a hollow point that's going to nosedive into the feed ramp.
Which coincidentally is how hollow points got their bad rap anyway. It's because when hollow points are first put to the market, there was basically 45 was about the only semi-auto available, and they're
the only prolific.
The only prolific, and it's what all the cops were carrying. And when they designed them the first time, they made that hollow point way too deep, so they did not feed reliably at all.
So you've got that thing to consider as far as ammunition reliability. And then I have to check point of aim, point of impact.
Yep.
Is my point of aim for my self-defense ammunition going to be the same as, my point of impact of my self-defense ammunition going to be the same as my point of impact for my practice ammunition? That's important to know as well. And at what distances is it going to start changing? If I can't keep, now that's why I always recommend to people keep your self-defense ammunition around the same bullet weight or grain weight as your practice ammo. So if you're going to practice 9mm with typically 115 or 124 grain full metal jacket, then shoot 124 grain self-defense rounds. If you're going to practice with 55 grain or 62 grain out of your AR-15, then plan on loading up with some 55 or 62 grain self-defense loads, et cetera, for all the other calibers. So check your point of impact, check the reliability of the ammunition, and again, do all this under perfect conditions, so you can eliminate any factors if problems start occurring. Now that under perfect conditions, the thing works, now start using it under bad conditions. Now go out when it's raining. Now go out when it's snowing. Now go out when it's really hot. Remove all the lube from the gun.
Yeah.
And fire it, 50 rounds with no lube on it and see how well that works. Is your gun going to start seizing if it gets dry? That's important to know. Some guns, like a 1911, for example, it's kind of as a general rule, they have to be run, very, very well lubricated. Otherwise, it's just not going to function well. Some ARs, certain manufacturers, don't run very well dry.
No.
So it's important to know that kind of stuff. Now start putting your gun under worse conditions. If you think in your operational environment you're going to encounter a lot of mud or a lot of wet environments or a lot of cold environments, go out and use your gun when it's 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 10 degrees. You'll be amazed what you'll find. The gun may still function perfectly, but how do your freaking little coconut pickers function? You know what I mean? How
are you able to manipulate the controls? Do you need to upgrade the controls? If you've already upgraded the controls, how are they working? Because I've seen people put like the oversized, then this is Glock specific. Like I've seen it on other guns, but mostly on Glocks, the oversized magazine release. And I've seen guys
drop the mag in the holster.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a couple of times. I've also seen it happen as they're pressed out because they'll readjust their grip a little bit, and they'll hit that thing, and they're bang, whoosh, and there goes the magazine. So these are all things that you're going to have to look at and take into account and try again. And it's not going to be inexpensive, especially when it comes to testing your self-defense load. You're going to want to reliably get a minimum of 100 rounds of that particular self-defense load through your carry gun, specifically in handguns, before you really start to carry that thing around with that ammunition in it.
And that sounds crazy to some people because they're like, oh my gosh, 50 to 100 rounds of self-defense ammunition.
It's not cheap.
That's a lot of coinage. And you're right, it absolutely is. It is, but here's the biggest problem we see in the gun world. If I take most modern firearms, let's say a Glock, all right, I go to the store right now and I buy a Glock 19.
Yep. And
I also buy a box of, I don't know, what's a popular self-defense, gold dots, right? I buy a box of gold dots, 124 grain plus P gold dots. Boom, I've got that. I've got my G19 fresh out of the factory. I open up the gun. I load up the magazine, put the magazine in the gun, rack one in the slide. I keep that thing for home defense. What are the odds that thing, that Glock, is going to fire when I press the trigger?
Pretty good.
Pretty damn good, right? It's probably going to happen, all right? There's a really small chance it's not going to happen. We're talking about a good, reliable gun with good, reliable ammunition. Great. So the chances are Very high. All right. So now let's talk about the chances of ever being involved in a situation where I would need to pull that Glock.
Very, very, very low.
Very, very, very small. All right. Very, very small chance that I'm ever actually going to have to defend my home.
Less than 1% chance.
Very small chance. All right. So now I'm taking a gun with a high chance of operational success against a situation with a low chance that it's ever really going to happen. Why in the hell would I want to spend all this time and money testing this gun and go through all this pain and suffering trying to make sure that the thing is operational?
Because you might be that 1%.
Because in that tiny chance that I'm actually going to have to employ this, and with that tiny chance that the gun's going to fail, let's eliminate that as much as possible. You know what I mean? And if I can make sure that my gun is 100% and the ammo is 100%, then if I do find myself in that really small chance, I don't have to second guess my gear.
Yep.
I never have to question it. I never have to think, is this thing going to potentially run or not? You know, because in fact, let's even use this, okay? Heresy I'm about to speak, so get ready.
Oh, Lord. Are we going to lose more listeners?
I might actually gain some with this.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Are we on in Guadalupe? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
all right.
Whoa.
So if I go out and buy a High Point, okay, and I also buy what's like the cheapest self-defense ammo you can buy, probably like
the bulk pack,
Remington
bulk pack.
HP, the Dragon's Breath stuff that we tested. All right, this stuff is incredibly bright when you fire it.
Remind me of the Dragon's Breath thing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I go out and I buy bulk pack Remington UMC hollow points, and I get my High Point. I mean, total investment here is like $200. All right.
Yeah.
And I load that thing up and I put it in my gun safe, whatever, and I'm ready. And now I'm ready to go. And I've never test fired the gun. Okay. And somebody kicks in my door. What's the chances that High Point is going to fire? Let's be realistic. All right.
Pretty good.
Love or not love that gun, the thing is relatively reliable. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are the chances it's going to fire?
Pretty high.
Pretty high. Same with the Glock, pretty high. Glock's have a higher chance of success, but the High Point's still probably going to shoot.
Yeah.
So why would I want to go to all the pain and suffering of doing all this? Because in the chance that I do find myself in that tiny, tiny, tiny little opportunity where I may actually have to use this thing, it's going to be absolutely crucial that the thing works 100%, and that I know the ammo's going to work and I know the gun's going to work. So whether you're a cop carrying this thing on your hip all day, a CCW carrying it on your hip all day, you just have something saved up for home defense and it's in a safe somewhere, or you're a military guy going overseas or whatever, if you don't know how your equipment's going to operate, you're setting yourself up for failure. How many stories do we hear about the initial invasion of Iraq, where we were taking all these guys who had never run the Modus before. They'd never run a Mark 19 before, and all of a sudden they find themselves in combat, and the thing won't work, and they don't know why. They're trying to fix it, and they're
the middle of a firefight is not the opportune time to learn how to use stuff.
Terrible opportunity to figure out how that works. So we're going to take another break. When we come back, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about testing
ammunition.
Dragon's Breath, right?
Yeah,
We're going to talk about testing Dragon's Breath, and I'm not talking about the 12-gauge round. I'm talking about ammunition during certain situations. We're also going to talk about why it's so crucial to budget for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going to kind of wrap up our discussion on why it's necessary to train your equipment. Test your equipment.
Yeah.
You're listening to The Arms Room.
Are you or someone you know looking for a new job or career? The Vets on Media family would like to invite you to the National Career Fair in Phoenix on September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. This free job fair will be held at the Phoenix Airport Marriott Hotel, located at 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. This is your chance to meet some of the top employers in the Phoenix area face-to-face. Get ready to jumpstart your new career at the National Career Fair in Phoenix, September 29th from 11 until 2 p.m. at the Phoenix Marriott Hotel, 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. For more information, visit ncfairs.com/Phoenix. Again, that's ncfairs.com/Phoenix.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word Military Enrollment Advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, you're back on the Arms Room. We're talking about testing gear, testing firearms and ammunition specifically, and kind of gear in general. So the way we're kind of going to wrap up the show, we're going to talk about Dragon's Breath.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, what else were we going to talk about? Dragon's Breath, testing. Some of the testing. What else are we going to talk about? I don't remember.
All right, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But we're going to talk. We're also going to kind of tell some interesting stories of gear failures that we've seen in class that were crucial. Even when we're working with like law enforcement, military guys who literally rely on this stuff to protect them forever. And like my buddy John's M9. Yeah, that was a good example. So first thing I want to talk about, I just posted a video up on the Arms Room Facebook page called Muzzle Flash is Your Defensive Ammunition a Fire Breather. And it's a video we did a while back, and one of our students sent us some high-speed camera footage of different loads being fired through his firearms. He does like a full-size 9, a compact 9, a full-size 45, his M4. He only does a handful of things, but it really gets the point across. And it's something that always amazes people in our low-light, no-light classes is when we shoot different types of self-defense ammunition and how bright some of it is. Some of it is incredibly bright. So, like, there's another reason, there's another condition to fire your weapon. If you're going to find yourself as a civilian engaged in self-defense, what's the most likely time you're going to be engaged? Dark time. Sometime when the sun's not up, right? Some kind of low-light engagement. And if your gun is this fire breather and it totally eliminates your sight picture the first time that you fire, and then now you're night blind and you have no sight picture and you can't see, you have no follow-up capability, you have no capability to really see what's going on or keep situational awareness, obviously that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a huge problem. So you need to understand how that works as well. So you need to go onto our Facebook page at the Arms Room and find the link to that video that we just posted up. Check it out. It's interesting. It may change your mind about the way some ammunition works and how bright some of it is. And go out and test your own. certainly test your own self-defense ammo and see just how bright it is. You don't have to go fire a whole box of it, but go out and fire a few rounds. Maybe go out with a buddy or something so you can kind of stand to the side. You can get behind the gun. You can kind of get some different perspectives on just how bright this stuff is.
Bust out your smartphone and shoot some video.
Yeah, video that thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about some gear failures because we've had some interesting ones.
I think the most recent was our buddy Matt at the carbine class a couple of weeks ago. He was testing out his new pistol.
Oh.
His AR pistol.
Yeah.
And about halfway through day 2,
sheared the gas key off.
Yeah, sheared the gas key right off of that sucker. That's kind of a big deal because he specifically said
he was in the testing phase.
I'm out here testing this thing out, seeing what's up with it. This is going to be my primary home defense weapon. I need to know what's going to go wrong with it, and something pretty major went pretty freaking wrong.
Yeah.
So
we have seen lights fall off of guns.
That may or may not have happened.
Someone at this table might have had that happen during a training class.
Use Loctite. Loctite.
We've had all kinds of sighting systems fall off.
Yeah.
We've had slings break and guns hit the ground. We've had, during movement, lots of movement, we've seen handguns fly out of holsters.
Mm-hmm.
We've had holsters break. Of course, we've had a couple of the infamous, Serpa problems where the lock won't disengage because rocks and stuff get jammed up in there. So we've seen that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have seen, kits in general just kind of come apart as far as plate carriers, chest rigs, things like that. We've seen them break. We've seen guys wear like the Condor ones, a class or whatever, and they'll
smash buckle.
They'll run them for a couple days, and they'll smash a buckle. They'll rip something, and all of a sudden they'll be like, "Oh wow, maybe this doesn't work as well."
Call Red Wire Gear. We might be able to help you out with that.
There you go.
Might be able to fix that for you.
So that's part of the reason that testing is so absolutely crucial.
A couple of years ago, before my last deployment, I was able to get you down to run the guys I was deploying with through handgun
that's right.
class.
We did some pre-deployment stuff. Yeah.
And one of the guys, his issued M9 was the barrel was shot out essentially.
It was a freaking smooth bore handgun.
Because he'd be doing really well, a couple of rounds really well, really well,
and all of a sudden
and then there's like this high right, and we're like, oh, okay, all right,
we're trying to fix this.
Get your shit together,
and his
John.
Technique is perfect.
Yeah, get your shit together, John. Stop screwing this up. Okay, man. Okay. A few rounds later, a low right. Like, what the hell, man? And then Glenn here grabs a hold of it, and he's like, whoa. Because the exact same things are happening to him, and we bust the gun down and we look at it, and it's like, there's pretty much no rifling left in this barrel. So that was a good thing to know. Thankfully, that deployment turned into a non-combative deployment, but had it been a combative deployment and we had not done that, that could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, he's trying to, engage an enemy with his handgun as his primary weapon in your guys' unit. That's kind of his primary thing. All of a sudden, he's trying to engage somebody with his handgun, and barrel's shot out, and he can't hit anything. Cost him his life.
Yep.
So those are the kinds of things that are absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial, because we've seen so many failures. Man, if you name a gun, a brand, a model, we've seen it fail in class at some point in time. Sometimes user-induced, sometimes ammunition-induced. It's not always the gun's fault, but the point is we have seen things fail.
Yep.
We know that when things start getting stressful or things start getting critical.
And some of the
Murphy's
failures,
Law, man, it comes in hot and heavy.
I would say the majority of the failures aren't even under truly stressful conditions.
Yeah.
Like we've had guys with maintenance issues go back and forget to lock their 1911s back together.
And seen guns literally have a freaking come apart during the middle of a class. So it's so critical to test your stuff.
Yep.
So absolutely critical to go out and test your equipment. If you've got armor, if you've got a plate carrier, if you've got a chest rig, if you've got a war belt, if you've got a new holster, whatever, do not count on that thing to be used in a critical stress situation unless you're going to go out and train with it, practice with it, get it dirty. Go out like we were talking earlier about, run it in the cold. Part of the reason we've been adding those Talon grips to our guns has been because, man, it really, really increases the control that you have over our handguns. I've even got a set on my AR now, where I have the capability to have better control over the firearm just because it has an enhanced grip. It helps me to shoot better when we get sweaty because it's hot outside, or we get cold and our digits start to lose function. We have the capability to still maintain a good solid grip on our gun. God forbid we get hurt.
Yep.
You know, you're out, you're drawing your handgun in self-defense or offense if you're, you know, cop or military guy, and your gun, you're like, oh, well, under perfect conditions, I have no problems holding on to it. Great. What about less than perfect conditions? And now you're under stress. Maybe you're hurt. You know, you got hit in the arm, shot in the arm, got involved in a vehicle accident, whatever. Now you're trying to pull your gun out and shoot it. You got a little bit of a weak hand, and now that grip surface that seemed to be okay, all of a sudden is failing you because it's not aggressive enough.
Generally speaking, make sure you can operate your gun single-handedly.
That too.
Make sure you can get to your controls. Make sure you know how to do it single-handedly, which goes to testing your equipment and training with it again. So.
It's both. I mean, that's a testing and a training issue, because now obviously we need to train so we understand the right techniques, but we got to test. You know, it can't, on this particular firearm, do I have an ambidextrous release, or do I have an ambidextrous safety disengage, or do I have an ambidextrous whatever? If I don't have an ambidextrous controls on there, how am I going to access that? And maybe do I need to modify that? Do I want to put an extended slide lock on there? Do I want to put an extended whatever on there? Do I want to change this part or piece so that I can make it more accessible for using it from my other side? Because that's important. Again, it all comes down to testing. It's crucial that you use your firearms in all the operational conditions and all the operational environments that you potentially think you're going to find yourself in. Whether you're a recreational shooter, a competitive shooter, or combative shooter, whatever it is, test your gear. And along with that, and one of the things that our friend Tim put up on our Facebook page earlier is, and I'll read his words. He says, something that makes me cringe something that always made me cringe when I did gun work for a living, people who'd spend, you know, $2,000 setting up an AR and then have nothing left for ammo. You know, and that's
budgeting. That's the other thing.
That's the budgeting, and that's why I looked at that. I'm like, oh, ding,
yeah,
there it is. So budgeting for stuff is absolutely critical as well. Not just for the gun, because people say, well, I have $1,000, so I'm going to spend it all on the gun. Well, great, but now you have nothing for extra mags. You have nothing for a good holster, so you're going to go buy some crappy little $5 holster and carry it around. That poor choice. You're going to have to budget. I'd rather have a $600 gun and a really good holster and, you know, several hundred rounds of ammo to go out and practice with, and a little bit of extra money to maybe go take a training class and learn how to really run this thing. I'd rather have budget the entire package and say, okay, I'm just going to go spend $1,000 on a gun. Oh, and now I don't have money for ammo. I don't have money to test it. I don't have money to practice anything. I don't have money for range fees. I don't have money for training. Fail, dude.
Yes.
Total fail. You know, during the whole budgeting, or the buying crisis, you know, where everyone's been scooping up all the ammunition they can possibly get. Dude, what's my biggest complaint is these people who have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 100,000,
they're not out shooting it.
Whatever. They have all this ammo. They're not going to shoot it. Well, if you're going to plan on having all this ammo for whatever, zombie apocalypse,
whatever your particular wet dream is.
Yeah, whatever your particular wet dream is. There. How do you think you're going to fare with a really nice gun and lots of ammo and no idea how to use it? You know what's going to happen? Guys like me are going to kill you. That's what's going to happen. All right, so listen up and pay attention. That's what's going to happen. Guys like me are going to get 2 or 3 of our friends, and we're going to rape your face, all right? Because it's not hard to take care of that kind of business if you have no idea what the crap you're doing. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. Wait, Adam wants to say something. Go, Adam.
And to file a complaint, feel free to go to info@vetsonmedia.com. Again, that's info@vetsonmedia.com. Thank you.
The other side to budgeting is to budget the time for that training class. Budget the time for your own practice. You know, budget the time to learn how to effectively use that equipment.
Absolutely. But it's
is your rant over now?
I'm done.
Okay. Right.
I'm done. The flood got me all fired up.
Do you need a hug?
I'm good.
Okay.
But it is a huge, you know, it's a huge pet peeve of mine, because, like, look, here's the reality of things. Let's say you have 1,000 rounds in a rifle, right? And you're hoarding that for the end of the world, and that's fine. If you only had 1,000 rounds in a rifle, that's great. That's a good stock, right?
Yeah, that's good.
You're doing fine. I would honestly rather fire and effectively, not just dirt shoot, but actually go out and train, get a good training class, maybe go out and practice some good exercises.
Use half of that ammo up.
And use at least half that ammo.
Yeah.
I would rather see someone with a rifle and you know, like a combat load of, you know, 300 to 400 rounds.
It's a really big combat load.
420 standard combat load now. Yeah, for infantry.
420?
420. Divided by 3. Come on.
All
right. So the idea is that I would rather have, you know, several hundred rounds and a rifle, but be really proficient in it.
Yeah.
Than have 1,000 rounds stored up for whatever your wet dream is.
And one magazine.
Yeah, and one mag and my rifle, and then be ready to rock and roll. And then some guys show up. I mean, what's our kind of joke that we joke about in the training world? 10 rounds in a dead man's rucksack.
Yep. All
You
I need.
know, and it's a terrible thing to think about, and understand that, you know, good people aren't going to do those kind of things to you, but
Right.
bad people are.
Yep.
And when you look at Ferguson, or you look at England not too long ago, or you look at Hurricane Katrina, or you look at any of these kind of big situations that really are relatively minor and geographically isolated, but still are relatively violent where they are. Now imagine that on a bigger scale if something like that happened. You know, oh, sorry. Tim says 210 is standard.
Yeah.
210 is standard? That's it?
Yeah. 7 mags.
Oh, that's
8.
right. 7 mags, yeah.
8.
I was thinking 420.
We carried 240 because
240.
we carried 7 loaded and 8 loaded, one in the gun, 7.
Maybe
on the back.
240 and not 420.
Yeah.
Maybe I meant 240.
That's why I just kind of looked at you.
I'm not a weed smoker, Adam. Crying out loud.
That's why I just looked at you and nodded my head like, okay.
Okay, yeah. I might have.
That has changed.
I might have put
That's
that.
a lot.
I might have put that backwards. My bad. I apologize. 240, not
'Cause that's
420.
like 16 magazines
Yeah,
there, bro.
Yeah, I told you to
That's a
divide
lot.
by 3, and then I divided by 3, and I was like, shit, that's a lot. So it's 240 rounds, not 420. My bad. I screwed up those
Nah,
numbers.
it's okay. It's all right.
But anyways, point is that, you know, if you had that, if you had 240 rounds, right? You had 240 rounds standard combat load, or 210 according to Tim, either way. That's a lot of ammo to use in a civilian setting. And if you had shot the other 600 or 700 rounds doing good training and good solid practice, you'd be a whole lot more ready and proficient to actually go out and do something with that gun. Same thing if you're going to do it competitively or combatively or whatever. So any kind of parting words on that, John, before we end the show, just about testing equipment?
Test it in the worst possible conditions. Like until I really got into the training thing, I really didn't do that much of it, and I started hanging out with Glenn here.
Even from a military perspective.
Yeah, even from a military perspective, you know, I mean, we qualified in the rain and stuff, whatever, it sucked, but that wasn't really running equipment.
Right.
So then started hanging out with Glenn, and he'd call me. Like, my favorite was, hey man, we're going out to Mingus Mountain. It's gonna be like 30 degrees and freezing rain. You want to come out and shoot? Not really. Yeah, I do.
And it was about. It was pretty darn cold, and it was
horrible.
Freezing
dude.
rain. It was
horrible.
nasty. It was
Question.
nasty. Go, Adam.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Do you guys reload your own?
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, we
Sorta.
we
For the
kind of
most
shoot a
part.
mix.
Okay.
We shoot a mix of factory rounds and reloaded
Is
stuff.
that something else people should?
You got to test that too. Yeah. If you're gonna
you
reload,
gotta test your reloads.
gotta
for sure.
test your reloads. I would never bet my life on reloads
No.
of any kind, even if I was doing them myself in my own garage. I would never bet my life on my reloads unless it was the only ammunition that I had, in which case I had to.
Okay.
And that just has to do with the quality assurance.
So reloads you'd use more for
Training.
More for training. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you use it for hunting at all?
Yeah, I use reloads for hunting.
Okay.
You know. Now, if I was going to be going after a big trophy bull elk, probably not. I'm probably gonna use some really good factory ammunition, unless I've rolled my own special
I was gonna say, I
recipe that's
know.
going to help me obtain a certain level of precision,
Mhm.
and I'm doing them like on a single stage press where I'm pumping out once at a time, and quality assurance is really high. Then yeah, I'd probably use that. But you know, for bird hunting or coyote hunting or rabbit hunting or whatever, I use reloads all the time. All right. So absolutely good question. So just kind of wrap things up. You got to test your equipment. I mean, that's basically what the whole show has been about. Test your gear. Start by testing it in the best case scenario. Test different types of ammunition. Test different types of gear. Test your mag pouch over here. Test it at the 1 o'clock. Test it at the 3 o'clock. Test it at the 5 o'clock. Test it this way, that way. Test it from the ground. Test it from your vehicle. Test your gear every way that you possibly can, so that if you ever need to call on it, whether for combative or competitive reasons, you're not going to be dragging behind anybody else. Because whether it's competitive or combative, to steal words from our good friend Frank Proctor, he who scores the most points the fastest wins.
Yep.
Make sure you test your gear and you know how it works. Next week on the Arms Room, we have, I'm not actually 100% sure. What do we got going on, Adam? Do you remember? Useless. All right.
Another awesome show.
No, we're going to be talking about hunting. We're
Ooh.
going to be talking about different hunting styles and finding one that fits you.
Hence, that's
Fantastic.
why I kind of led into that.
Oh.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
So we're going to talk about different hunting styles, finding a hunting style that fits for you, different types of hunting animals and things like that, you know, depending on what you like to do. Are you a patient person? Are you an aggressive person? All that kind of stuff we're going to talk about next week on the Arms Room. Until then, stay aware, stay safe, and train hard.